All right, so are you ready to dive deep into the world of malt houses? Today, we're going to help you nail that interview for a malt house supervisor position. So have you ever imagined yourself at the heart of like all the magic that goes on in a craft brewery?
I think everyone has at some point.
Well, the malt house is really where it all starts. And the malt house supervisor, they are like the conductor of the orchestra. They're the ones who are making sure that all of that high quality malt gets into those delicious brews.
That's exactly right. And it really is this fascinating kind of blend of science, artistry, and leadership all in one.
And we've got some awesome resources from RoleCatcher to help guide us through this. They've got a fantastic platform for job seekers. And we're going to be looking at their Malt House Supervisor Career Guide, as well as their interview guide to get you prepped. Plus, we'll sprinkle in some intel on how RoleCatcher's AI can give you that extra edge.
Yeah, think of it like your crash course in how to become a malt master.
Okay, so let's start by cracking open that career guide. What exactly does a Malt House Supervisor do all day?
So it's more than just watching barley sprout. You're basically the captain of the whole malting process. You oversee every single thing from steeping those grains to germination all the way to kilning.
Okay.
So, imagine those big giant drums that are gently rotating. They're coaxing that barley to life. You're monitoring temperatures, humidity, airflow. It's a precise dance to achieve that just perfect malt profile.
And it's not just like the technical stuff, right?
Right.
You've got a whole team to manage and safety protocols to uphold. And of course, you have to make sure that final product meets all of the customer requirements. It's a lot of responsibility.
It is absolutely a lot of responsibility. And, the guide really doesn't shy away from the realities in the job. It can be physically demanding. Think noise, dust, heat, humidity.
Yeah.
So being able to showcase your resilience and ability to thrive in that kind of setting is key during the interview.
So it's not just about knowing your malt.
Right.
It's about showing you can handle the heat.
Literally.
Literally.
You got it.
All right, so let's get into those interview questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the interview guide has 9 sample questions that are pretty common for this role. And we're going to break down each one. We're going to kind of uncover what the interviewer is really looking for and how to craft your answer that will make them say, this is our malt master.
Exactly.
Okay, so bring on the questions. First up, how did you first become interested in the role of Malt House Supervisor? Seems simple enough, but I bet there's more to it.
Oh, there's always more to it, right?
Yeah.
So this one is really all about figuring out your motivation and your passion for the field. It's not just about, kind of recounting your resume. It's about sharing what made you interested in this role specifically. So did a tour at your local brewery kind of inspire you? Maybe you've got a home brewing hobby, and that's what ignited your fascination with malt. Whatever it is, let that genuine enthusiasm shine through.
Okay, so no need to like fabricate some elaborate backstory about growing up on a barley farm.
Oh, definitely not. Authenticity is key. Just be honest about, your journey. Connect the dots between any of your previous experiences and this role. And even if you're coming from like a totally unrelated field, highlight any transferable skills that you might have.
Okay, so like if you managed a team at a busy restaurant,
Exactly. That's a great example.
that shows you can handle pressure, you can coordinate lots of moving parts, just like in a malt house.
Exactly.
Now, I'm guessing that they might have some follow-up questions brewing in their minds, right? What should we be prepared for?
Well, be ready to talk about any experiences that you mention in more detail, right? So they might ask you to tell them more about a certain home brewing project or what challenges you faced, or they might ask you about the industry, like what trends in craft brewing are exciting to you. Showing you've done your research goes a long way.
So it's about showing that passion, AD knowledge. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, question number 2. What are the key responsibilities of a malt house supervisor? This one seems pretty straightforward.
It does, but it's not, right? They're not just looking for you to like recite the job description. They want to hear you really synthesize that information and demonstrate a true understanding of the role. Think about if you were explaining this job to a friend, who knows nothing about malting. How would you make it really clear and engaging to them?
Okay, so it's about bringing the job to life, right?
Yeah.
And not just listing all the tasks. And the career guide is really helpful here. It breaks down those core responsibilities. Things like overseeing the malting process, managing employees, ensuring safety, and making sure that you meet all those quality standards. It's kind of a roadmap to success in the role.
Exactly. And this is your chance to weave in any of your own experiences to really show that you're not just familiar with a theory, but you're also ready to apply it.
Hmm.
So let's say you've worked in a production environment before, maybe a food processing plant, or even like a busy bakery. Highlight how that translates over to Malt House supervision.
Show them you're not just a book learner, you're a doer.
Exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions could pop up here?
So they might dig into a specific responsibility. How would you handle an employee who's consistently late? Or what steps would you take to ensure that the malt meets the brewer's exact color and flavor specifications? They want to see that you can really think on your feet and apply all that knowledge to real-world scenarios.
All right, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Know your stuff,
Yeah.
show your passion, and be ready to think critically. Okay, bring on question number 3.
What do you consider to be the most important skills for a malt house supervisor? And this is where you can really shine. You can, highlight your strengths and prove you've got what it takes.
Time to flex those malt master muscles.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
instead of just, rattling off some generic skills like communication or teamwork, we got to get specific.
Totally. And remember, this isn't just any management role. It's Malt House Supervisor. And the career guide really highlights some key skills that are super relevant. Active listening, coordination, monitoring, social perceptiveness, and time management.
Okay, those make a lot of sense. Because you are leading a team, you're overseeing these really intricate processes and you're responding to these ever-changing conditions. It's a real juggling act
Yeah.
that requires like this unique set of skills.
And don't forget the technical side. You want to mention things like your knowledge of production processes, quality control, maybe even touch on industry-specific regulations. The more expertise you showcase, the better.
So it's like you're saying, hey, I'm not just here to manage, I'm here to master the art of malting.
You got it.
Okay, follow-up questions. What have we got?
Well, so they might ask for very specific examples of how you've demonstrated those skills in the past. Like, tell me about a time you had to coordinate a complex production schedule. Or, maybe they'll throw a curveball and they'll give you a hypothetical scenario. Imagine a piece of equipment malfunctions during a crucial production run. How would you handle that?
So you got to be prepared to back up all of your claims with real-life examples and show them you can handle those curveballs in the malt house. All right, let's keep going. Question number 4. How do you ensure that quality standards are met in a malt house operation? This one feels like a real deal breaker.
Yeah, it is, right? Quality is definitely non-negotiable in the malt world. Think about it. If there are inconsistencies in the malting process, they can just cascade down the line and it can affect the flavor, the aroma, even the stability of the beer. So, they need someone who understands that the buck stops with the malt house supervisor.
So it's not just about meeting those standards, it's about being like that quality champion. What kind of knowledge and experience should we highlight here?
So think about the entire chain of production. From the time that you receive that raw barley to the final kilned malt, they want to hear you talk about how you monitor every single stage. Talk about conducting lab tests, maybe even sensory analysis. And if you have experience with any kind of certifications like HACCP or GMP, this is the time to mention it. It really shows your dedication to food safety and quality assurance.
It's like saying, hey, I'm not just making malt, I'm crafting liquid gold, and I take that very seriously.
Okay, so what kind of follow-up questions might they brew up for this one?
They might get really specific, like they might ask about a particular quality issue that you've encountered and how you resolved it. Or they might shift the focus to your team and ask, well, how would you train employees on those quality control procedures?
Right.
Because every single member of that team is responsible for upholding those standards.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about a topic that always feels a bit nerve-wracking: team management. Question number 5. How do you manage a team of workers in a malt house operation? I'm guessing they're looking for more than, I just give them tasks and hope for the best.
Oh, for sure. They want to really see what your leadership style is. Are you more collaborative? Do you prefer to be more hands-on? This is your chance to really highlight your strengths and give concrete examples of how you've led teams in the past. The career guide really emphasizes this management of personnel resources. So it's more than just giving orders. It's about motivating, developing, and empowering your team.
Exactly. And it's about creating a culture where everyone feels really valued and they feel invested in the success of the malt house. A happy team is a really productive team.
Now, I'm guessing that for the follow-up questions, they're probably going to want to hear about specific challenges that you faced as a leader and how you've, navigated those tricky situations.
You got it. So maybe they'll ask about a time when you had to deal with conflict between team members, or maybe how you motivated an employee who is struggling to, improve their performance. Be prepared to showcase those conflict resolution skills and, your ability to give constructive feedback and just your overall approach to building a strong and cohesive team.
It's about showing them that you're not just a boss, you're a leader. All right, let's tackle question number 6. This is a classic behavioral interview question. Can you provide an example of a time when you had to troubleshoot a problem in a malt house operation? Oh, I can already feel the pressure building.
And no, it's a big one, right? But don't sweat it. This one's all about showing off how good of a problem solver you are.
Okay.
So think of a specific time when you faced a challenge, you had to analyze the situation, come up with a solution, and then you were able to achieve a positive outcome. And remember the STAR method, situation, task, action, result. Lay it out really clearly and concisely, and don't be afraid to highlight what you learned along the way.
So it's all about turning a potential disaster into a learning opportunity.
Exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions should we be ready for?
So they might ask things like, what other solutions did you consider before you landed on that one? Or how did you communicate the issue and your resolution to the team and superiors? It's all about showing them that you're not just a lone wolf, but you're also a team player who can communicate effectively and collaborate to solve a problem.
All right. I'm feeling pretty good about my troubleshooting skills right now. So let's move on to question number 7. How do you stay up to date with industry trends and advancements in malt house management? This is a good one.
This is really about demonstrating your commitment to continuous learning and also your passion for staying ahead of the game. The malt industry is always changing, right? New technologies, techniques, and sustainability practices are always popping up. So they want to see that you're not just content with the status quo, you're actively seeking out new knowledge and applying it to your work.
It's like showing them you're kind of a malt nerd who's always just like hungry for more knowledge.
Exactly.
So how do we impress them with that thirst for learning?
So you want to think beyond just reading, trade magazines.
Okay.
Have you been to any industry conferences or webinars?
Okay.
Are you part of any professional organizations? Do you follow thought leaders in this field on social media?
Okay.
Showcase your active pursuit of knowledge and be ready to talk about a recent trend that's particularly exciting to you.
So it's all about painting a picture of yourself as a lifelong learner, always seeking out new ways to improve and innovate. Okay, follow-up questions. Let's hear them.
So they might ask, how would you apply that new knowledge that you learned to improve the processes in a malt house? Or tell me about a time when you implemented a new technique or technology that resulted in a positive outcome. Be prepared to showcase your ability to translate, the theory into practice, and also demonstrate the benefits of all that continuous learning.
Okay, we're almost there. 2 more questions to go. Question number 8 is a really important one. How do you ensure that safety protocols are followed in a malt house operation?
Mm-hmm.
Safety is obviously paramount in any kind of industrial setting, but malt houses have their own unique hazards.
Right, they do. I think heavy machinery, potentially hazardous chemicals, working at heights.
Wow, yeah.
They really need to know that you're not just paying lip service to safety, but that you are a true champion for creating a culture where everybody goes home safe at the end of the day.
So it's really demonstrating that safety is not just a box to check off. It's like a core value that guides every decision. What kind of knowledge and experience should we highlight here?
So think about your own personal experience with implementing and enforcing safety protocols. Have you ever conducted safety trainings? Have you performed any risk assessments? Implemented a system for reporting and addressing hazards? You want to showcase your proactive approach to safety, and don't forget to emphasize things like the importance of personal protective equipment and just really ensuring that everybody understands what their role is in maintaining that safe workplace.
It's really showing them that you're not just concerned about the bottom line. You're concerned about the well-being of your team.
Exactly.
All right, so follow-up questions. What could they throw our way?
So they might ask you to describe a specific safety challenge that you faced in the past and how you addressed it. Or they could ask about your approach to motivating your employees to follow all those safety protocols, especially when they might be tempted to, cut a corner or two.
Yeah.
And remember, safety is everyone's responsibility, and a great leader knows how to foster a culture of shared accountability.
Okay, we're on the final question. And it's one that makes me a little bit nervous. How do you approach managing a budget and controlling costs in a malt house operation? I'm guessing that they're not just looking for someone who can just make great malt. They're looking for someone who can do it efficiently and cost-effectively, right?
You got it. They need to know that you understand, the business side of things, and you can make smart decisions that are going to contribute to the bottom line.
It's all about showing them that we're not just malt masters, we're also budget wizards.
Exactly.
So what kind of experience and strategies should we highlight here?
You want to think about any experience that you have with things like budgeting, forecasting, and identifying any areas for, cost optimization. Have you ever negotiated any favorable contracts with suppliers, implemented any energy efficient technologies, found ways to reduce waste? You really want to showcase your strategic mindset and your kind of data-driven approach to financial management.
It's about showing them you can stretch those malt dollars as far as possible. Okay, final follow-up questions.
Okay, so they might ask you to describe a time when you identified a cost-saving opportunity. Or maybe they'll give you a hypothetical scenario that involves budget constraints and ask you to explain how you would approach it. So just be prepared to demonstrate that you've got financial savvy and the ability to make tough decisions that, balance quality with profitability.
Wow, we just tackled 9 interview questions.
That's a lot, right?
I'm feeling pretty pumped. But I also know that acing an interview isn't just about knowing the answers. It's about presenting yourself confidently and showing your passion for the craft.
You're absolutely right. And that's really where RoleCatcher's AI can give you that edge. Imagine if you had a coach who could help you tailor your answers, refine your delivery, and even predict what questions they might ask based on the specific job description. That's the power of RoleCatcher.
Okay, tell me more. How does this AI magic actually work?
It's like having a personalized interview prep team at your fingertips. So what RoleCatcher's AI does is it analyzes the job description, it figures out what the key skills are and keywords, and then it helps you create answers that hit those targets.
So it's not about memorizing generic responses. It's about tailoring your answers to the specific needs of the employer.
Exactly. And here's the really cool part.
Yeah?
It gives you feedback on your delivery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it can analyze your tone of voice, your pacing, and even your body language to help you project confidence and authenticity.
Wow. It's like having a virtual interview coach in your pocket.
That's exactly right. And the best part is it's all tailored to that specific role you're applying for.
Okay, so what else can this AI wizard do?
So remember that skills gap analysis that we mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
That's where RoleCatcher really shines. It compares your resume to the job description, and it'll actually highlight any skills that are mentioned in the posting but might be missing from your resume. So let's say the job description is really emphasizing experience with automated brewing systems.
Okay.
But your resume only mentions manual processes. RoleCatcher is going to flag that gap and then suggest ways for you to be able to showcase that experience, or maybe even recommend some courses or certifications that you could take to boost your credentials.
So it's not just about landing this job. It's about really building your whole career and leveling up your skills.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher can also help you get discovered by those employers who are actively searching for candidates.
Oh, okay.
So if you opt into their searchable database, you're putting yourself in front of companies who are looking for someone with your skills and experience.
So it's like having like a personal recruiter working for you behind the scenes.
That's exactly right.
Connecting you with all the right opportunities. It's incredible how technology can level the playing field and give everyone a fair shot.
It really is amazing, isn't it? And now with all this knowledge and these, powerful tools, you're not just prepared, you're really positioned to excel.
Okay, I love that. So this has been a fascinating deep dive. We went from understanding the role of the Malt House Supervisor to mastering those interview questions and even figuring out how to use AI to boost our chances of getting the job.
You got it. It's all about preparation, strategy, and really having that extra edge. So landing that job, well, that's just the first step, right?
Right.
What about thriving in the role and really building a successful career as a Malt House Supervisor? So let's imagine you aced that interview, and now you're stepping into the Malt House. You're ready to lead. What are you going to prioritize in those first few weeks?
That's a great question. It's one thing to talk the talk during an interview, but walking the walk, that's a whole other challenge.
Yes.
Where do you even begin?
So first and foremost, focus on building relationships with your team. Get to know every single person, understand their strengths, understand their weaknesses.
Okay.
Create an environment where there's open communication and collaboration. Remember, you're not just managing this process, you're leading people.
Yeah, it's like that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Building trust and rapport, that's essential for effective leadership. And especially in a demanding environment like a malt house.
Absolutely. So next up, you've got to understand the malt house's existing processes, equipment, and safety protocols. Even if you've got experience in other facilities, every malt house is different. They've got their own quirks. Don't rush into making any changes. Take time to observe, ask questions,
Okay.
get feedback from the team before you implement any major adjustments.
So it's kind of like learning the lay of the land before you start rearranging the furniture. You want to understand that workflow and see if there are any potential areas for improvement.
Yeah.
You know, before you start making any changes.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of improvements, continuous improvement should be a core principle in your approach to leadership. The malt industry is always evolving, right?
Mm-hmm.
So encourage your team to really embrace those new technologies, those new techniques, those new sustainability practices that are emerging. You really want to foster a culture of innovation where everybody feels empowered to contribute their ideas.
It's like creating a malt-making think tank where everybody's just constantly seeking ways to optimize those processes and improve the quality of the product.
I love that. Okay, so let's go back to those interview questions, but from a different perspective. What do they actually reveal about the company culture and their values? Think about reading between the lines.
Ooh, that's an interesting perspective. I was so focused on just trying to figure out the perfect answers.
Right.
I didn't really stop to think about what the questions themselves could tell me about the company.
Right. Well, the question about how you became interested in the role, that suggests they're looking for people who are really passionate about the work, right?
Yeah.
Not just people who are clocking in and clocking out. It's a sign that they value enthusiasm, curiosity, and a desire to really contribute to the craft.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
And, all that emphasis on those quality standards and safety protocols, that tells you that those are non-negotiable priorities for them.
For sure.
They're not cutting corners when it comes to quality or the well-being of their employees.
Exactly. And that question about managing a budget and controlling costs, well, that suggests that they're a well-managed company that values efficiency and profitability. They're not just throwing money at problems. They want someone who can make smart decisions that benefit the company and the team.
So even before you step foot in the malt house, the interview questions themselves can give you a lot of insights into their culture and values.
Exactly.
And it can help you decide if it's the right fit for you.
Right, because remember, the interview is a two-way street. You're not just trying to impress them.
Yeah.
You're also trying to figure out if this is a company where you can thrive, where you can really contribute your talents.
Okay, so let's take another deep dive into the career guide and look at the career path itself.
Okay.
What are the opportunities for growth and advancement in the malt house world?
So the guide lays out this really typical career progression that starts with those entry-level positions, like Malt House Operator, and it kind of gradually moves up to Senior Malt House Operator, and then eventually Malt House Supervisor. So it's a clear path, There are lots of opportunities to gain experience and, develop your skills along the way.
So there is room to climb that malt ladder.
You got it.
So what about beyond that supervisor role? Are there opportunities to move into management or maybe even branch out into other areas of the food and beverage industry?
Oh, for sure. The malt industry is booming right now. There's so much demand from craft breweries, from distilleries, even food manufacturers. And as the industry grows, so will those opportunities for skilled, experienced professionals.
Okay, so it's not just a job. It's a potential career with room for growth and specialization.
Right.
And the guide also mentions, the importance of continuous learning. It suggests that aspiring malt house supervisors pursue certifications or degrees in brewing or malt science.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As the craft beer scene keeps, evolving, staying ahead of the game is going to be key. There are always new techniques, new technologies coming out. And committing to ongoing education, well, that just shows your dedication to the craft. It shows your desire to really contribute to the industry's advancement.
It's like saying, hey, I'm not just content with making good malt. I want to make the best malt.
Exactly.
And I'm willing to invest in my knowledge and skills to make that happen.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get real for a minute. What about that dreaded salary question? How do you handle that when they ask about your expectations?
Ah, yes, the money talk. So it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but the key is to be prepared. You've got to be confident. So before you go into that interview, do your research. Look at the salary ranges for Malt House Supervisors in your area, You can use websites like Glassdoor, Indeed, Salary.com. That'll give you a benchmark.
So it's about knowing your worth and being able to like articulate that in a really clear and professional way.
Yes, exactly. So when that question comes up, just say something like, based on my skills and experience and considering the market rate, I'm looking for a salary in the range of,
Okay.
be specific, be confident, and be open to negotiation.
And remember that salary isn't the only thing. Benefits, vacation time, opportunities for professional development, those are all important factors to consider.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to ask about the full compensation package and negotiate for what you really deserve. Okay, so let's shift gears for a second and talk about some of the challenges a malt house supervisor might encounter. We talked about the demanding work environment, but what are some of the other hurdles you might face?
I imagine managing a diverse team of employees with, all kinds of different experience and skills could be a real challenge. It's one thing to understand the process yourself, but it's another to train and motivate people to do it consistently and safely.
You're absolutely right. Effective communication, clear expectations, and, ongoing training, those are really crucial for building that cohesive team. And, let's not forget about the fact that unexpected problems can pop up in a production environment. Equipment malfunctions. So a malt house supervisor needs to be a problem solver.
Right. They've got to be able to think on their feet,
Exactly.
make those quick decisions to minimize downtime and make sure that those quality standards are met.
Yeah, it's like being like a malt detective. You're constantly on the lookout for clues that something might be going wrong,
Right.
and then you have to swoop in and find a solution before it affects the whole batch.
I like that, the malt detective.
And then you've got the challenge of, staying ahead of the game in an industry that's always changing.
Mm-hmm.
There are new technologies, regulations, sustainability practices coming out all the time. So a successful malt house supervisor has to always be learning, always seeking out new knowledge, and then figuring out how to apply it.
Speaking of sustainability, that's a really hot topic in the food and beverage industry right now.
It is.
How can a malt house supervisor incorporate like all those sustainable practices into their operations? It seems like there's a lot of potential for waste reduction and resource conservation in a process that, uses so much grain, so much water, so much energy.
Yeah, there really is.
Yeah.
Sustainability, it's not just a buzzword, it's a responsibility. All food and beverage producers need to take it seriously, and there are a lot of ways to make malt production more environmentally friendly. You can source your grain from local farmers. You can implement water conservation measures, energy conservation measures. You can compost spent grain. You can reduce packaging waste.
It's like saying, hey, we're not just making great malt. We're making it in a way that respects the planet and ensures a sustainable future for the whole industry.
Exactly. And a really good malt house supervisor is going to embrace those sustainability principles. Okay, so let's wrap up this segment by going back to the interview one last time. We've talked about how to answer those specific questions, but what about the overall impression that you want to make? You're not just a resume.
Right.
You're a person with passion, experience. You've got a unique perspective to offer.
So it's about bringing your authentic self to the interview and letting that personality shine through.
Yeah.
I always get so nervous that I just sound like a robot, like I'm reciting memorized answers.
Yeah, I hear you. Interviews can be really nerve-wracking. Try to just relax and be yourself, They want to get to know you well, not just your qualifications. Make eye contact, smile, and really engage with them in a genuine way.
And don't forget to ask thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
It shows that you're curious and that you're genuinely interested in them and the role.
Exactly. And asking insightful questions can really elevate you from just another candidate to someone who's really invested in the opportunity.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the Malt House Supervisor role. We've tackled those interview questions. And we even got a glimpse into that world of AI-powered interview prep.
We've analyzed, we've brainstormed, and we've strategized, all with the goal of helping you walk into that interview feeling prepared and confident and really ready to impress.
But before we send you off to conquer that interview, let's loop back to one of our earlier points, RoleCatcher's AI. We've kind of touched on it here and there, but I think it deserves a little bit more attention, especially for those listeners who are wondering, okay, this all sounds great,
right?
But how does it actually work?
Yeah, you're right. Let's dive back into RoleCatcher and explore just how its AI can really take your interview prep to the next level. So think of it as your secret weapon during that interview process. You've put in the work, you've listened to all this great advice from those career and interview guides. Now let's just add that layer of AI-powered precision.
Okay, I'm all ears. Break it down for me. How can RoleCatcher's AI help me really nail those interview questions?
All right, so let's say you're, practicing for that question about quality control.
Okay.
RoleCatcher's AI, it can actually analyze how the job description is worded. It picks out those keywords that kind of tell you what the employer really wants, and then it guides you to use those same keywords in your answers.
Oh, okay.
So it's showing them that you're not only knowledgeable, but you're really speaking their language.
Wait, so it's not just about knowing the material. It's about, like, customizing my answers to match what they're looking for.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it actually goes beyond just the keywords, too. So let's say the job description talks a lot about data-driven decision-making.
Okay.
RoleCatcher will suggest that you give them very specific examples of how you've used data to, improve things or to solve problems.
So it's almost like having a personal strategy session for each question.
That's a great way to put it.
But what about my delivery?
Yeah.
I tend to get kind of nervous and I ramble, and sometimes I sound too robotic, like I'm reading from a script. Can AI help with that?
Absolutely. So RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze those practice responses. It's like having a mock interview. It can figure out, your pacing, your tone of voice, even if you're using too many filler words.
Wow.
Imagine getting feedback that says something like, you sound really passionate, but try to slow down a bit to really hit those key points. Or, you said like 10 times in that answer. Try to be a little more concise.
It's like having a personal speech coach in my pocket.
That's exactly right. And the best part is that it's all customized for the role that you're applying for.
Okay.
It's not just general interview advice. It's really focused on what matters most to become a Malt House supervisor.
Okay. I am sold. But, sometimes the hardest part of the job search is just getting your foot in the door.
I agree.
So how can RoleCatcher help me with that initial hurdle?
That is where the skills gap feature comes in. And this is where RoleCatcher goes beyond just the interview prep. So it'll take your resume and compare it to the job description. And it's looking for any skills that the employer wants that you haven't really highlighted.
Okay.
So let's say the job description really emphasizes that you have experience with automated brewing systems.
Okay.
But your resume only mentions those manual processes. Well, RoleCatcher is going to flag that for you and suggest ways to, showcase your experience or even recommend courses or certifications that could boost your credentials.
So it's not just about getting this job. It's about building my whole career.
Exactly.
It's about leveling up those skills.
It's about that long-term success. And remember, RoleCatcher can also help you get discovered by employers who are actively looking for people.
Oh, wow.
If you opt into their database, you're putting yourself in front of all those companies who are looking for someone with your specific skills.
So it's like having a personal recruiter working for me.
Yes, that's a great way to think about it.
Connecting me to the right opportunities.
Yeah.
It's amazing how, technology can help everyone have a fair shot.
It really is empowering, isn't it? So, with all this information and these great tools, you're not just prepared for that interview, you're really ready to excel.
I love that. So this has been such a fantastic deep dive.
It really has.
We started with understanding the role of a Malt House supervisor. Then we moved on to mastering those interview questions. And then we learned how to use AI to boost our chances of landing the job.
That's exactly right. It's all about that preparation, that strategy, and really having that edge that can make all the difference.
So remember, you've got the passion, you've got the skills, and now you've got the tools.
So go out there, rock that interview, and who knows, maybe someday we'll be toasting with a beer that you helped brew.
Cheers to that.